The demons and devils of the evil-aligned outer planes are ruled by singular beings of great power. Although similarities exist among the demon lords and archdevils that rule the abyss and the nine hells respectively, there are also many differences. The archfiends vary greatly in power, although each is terrifyingly mighty by mortal standards. Some are worshipped as gods by mortal cults, while others wait in the shadows for an opportune time to strike, increasing their own power. Individual demons have, over the course of millennia, risen from the hordes of their brethren. They gained great power and authority, then established themselves as demon lords. Each has an appearance and a set of abilities unique to him or her. A few demon lords have even risen above the other demon lords, calling themselves demon princes. These are all self-proclaimed titles. There are no actual qualifications. The abyss is far too chaotic to develop rigid standards. It is this chaos and lack of organization and hierarchy that separates the demon lords from the archdevils, who have a rigid pecking order, each paying fealty to those in more powerful positions. Almost every demon lord controls at least one layer of the abyss. The lords command palaces and fortresses full of lesser demons and monsters, often decorated with tortured prisoners or tormented, damned souls. The demon lords relish pain and suffering as much as they lust for power. They savor corruption and destruction, waging eternal wars with each other to gain dominance. And though all demon lords would plunge the cosmos into eternal darkness and death should they ever be given the opportunity, few, if any, among the lords of the abyss strike horror and fear into the hearts of mortals more starkly than Orcus, the Demon Prince of Undeath. He who would annihilate even his brethren demonkind from existence and leave only the soulless undead to inherit the cosmos. I am Omar Timsaw.
I am William Stark.
And this is D&D Legends and Lore.
For of all the world's most fearsome things, the most dreadful by far is an empty grave.
Known as the Demon Prince of Undeath and the Blood Lord, the Demon Lord Orcus is worshipped by the undead and by living creatures that channel the power of undeath. He is one of the most powerful demons in the entirety of the abyss, powerful enough to threaten gods. A brooding and nihilistic entity, Orcus yearns to make the multiverse a place of death and darkness, forever unchanging except by his will. The Demon Prince of Undeath is a massive demon, standing over 15 feet tall. He is a foul and corpulent creature, with a humanoid torso, bloated on spite, bile, and contempt, powerful goat legs, and the desiccated head of a ram. His sore-ridden body stinks of disease, but his decaying head and glowing red eyes are as a creature already dead. Great black bat wings sprout from his back, stirring reeking air as he moves. He seems somewhere between life and undeath, his sore-ridden body suggesting diseased life, but his head and glowing red eyes suggest undeath. His thick, spiny tail is in constant motion. In many ways, Orcus is a physical manifestation of the archetypal demon. In fact, when commoners think of demons, they most likely think of some terrible picture of Orcus that they once saw somewhere. Dead creatures respond to the presence of Orcus, even without his command. Skeletal arms claw up from the ground where he walks and grab at the feet of his foes. Spirits fill the air with a ghostly chorus of piteous moans, tugging at his foes and hindering their movement. He wields a malevolent artifact known as the Wand of Orcus, a mace-like rod topped by a humanoid skull. He surrounds himself with undead, and living creatures not under his control are anathema to him. Likely because he has the identifiable, if loathsome, portfolio of undeath, Orcus is worshipped as a god more often than most of the other demon princes are. The bloated demon prince of the undead seeks to end all life in the cosmos, replacing the living with immortal undead creatures that answer only to him. In this grim future, the many suns of the material plane are extinguished, and all hope has faded away. All that remains is the eternally static realm of the living dead. Orcus is the universe's staunchest advocate of stagnation. He takes some pleasure in the sufferings of the living, but far prefers the company and service of the undead. He sees the activity of life as noisy, crude, and maddening. It rakes at his senses like the claws of a rat scratch across a hard floor. In his view, the universe can know peace only when life's incessant hum is replaced with the peace and quiet of the world of the dead. And yet, Orcus does not delight in his charges, the undead, and has not taken up the self-proclaimed mantle Prince of the Undead out of devotion or allegiance. If anything, the Demon Lord also despises undead. He has little but contempt for them and uses them without thought or consideration. It is just that he hates the undead marginally less than he hates everything else. Orcus seethes with utter revulsion and loathing at all times. Orcus finds amusement in the suffering and anguish of the living and satisfaction only when he drinks their blood. He has destroyed hundreds of mighty heroes and laid waste to countless kingdoms, and will likely do the same to countless more. It is said that Orcus began life thousands of years ago as a wicked mortal, whose vile deeds eventually resulted in his death. The abominable soul of this man congealed on Pezunia, the first layer of the abyss, a vast land of rocky, windswept barrens, dotted with pits and canyons, tors and mesas, and lit by an ancient red sun as a larvae. That larvae was raised up into a mane. In that form, he toiled long centuries under the lashes of now forgotten demon lords, eventually managing through sheer will to evolve into a Retterkin. The Demonomicon of Igwilf suggests that Orcus next became a Nalfeshni, and that he sat upon the 400th layer's court of woe during the era of the Githyanki revolt against the Illithid Empire. Eventually, Orcus conquered the 113th layer and became a demon lord with the appearance he retains to this day. Orcus became one of the most powerful demons in the abyss. Even some deities hesitate in fear upon the briefest mention of his name. For Orcus is more than just a demon. He is a legend that grows stronger and stronger with each revolution of the Great Wheel. Those who have served Orcus longest claim that the Prince of the Undead's long struggle from larva to Balor to Demon Lord instilled in him an instinct for survival that has allowed him to cheat death itself. Centuries ago, the drow goddess Kirinsali deposed Orcus, who had grown complacent with his endless campaign of stalemates with Grozit and Demogorgon. But even a treacherous death was not enough to destroy Orcus forever. A sliver of his essence survived, taking the name Tenebris, and forever changing the multiverse by discovering the last word, an utterance so powerful it could kill gods. As he scoured the Great Wheel searching for his infamous wand, Tenebris used the last word to slay several deities, including the Illithid god Manzakorian, the Archimental Bwimb, and Kamaxtli, Lord of Fate. Eventually, Orcus reassumed his previous name, form, and vigor, and deposed Kirinsali to once again command all of Thanatos. Orcus is no longer content to grow old and fat feeding on larvae in his castle. He focuses his anger and hate on the absolute destruction of his enemies and the spread of woe and havoc among mortals. Truly a demon reborn, Orcus is more terrible and more dangerous than ever. If Orcus had his way, all planes would resemble his dead realm of Thanatos, and all creatures would become undead under his control. Light filters weakly through the clouds and mists, illuminating the realm like a moonlit night. Dead forests filled with twisted black trees and barren moors dominate. Bleak mountains rise feebly into the black sky, and cities and villages in ruins crouch in hidden places as though fearful. Strewn all over the realm are tombs, mausoleums, gravestones, and sarcophagi. They stand on rooftops and building eaves like gargoyles. They litter forests like boulders left by a glacier, and they jut from moors like the masts of sinking ships. Undead abound within the realm, and no living thing survives long there. A handful of cities crouch upon the layer's vast tundras, havens for the mortal and immortal cultists who seek to emulate the life of their demonic patron. Outside the cities, roving hordes of thousands of undead roam across the land in search of flesh. The strongest and most ambitious of Orcus's thralls attempt to dominate and command these armies, leading them on invasions of the material plane and the lairs of rival demon princes like Grozit and Demogorgon. Orcus rules Thanatos from a vast palace known as Everlost, crafted of obsidian and bone. Set within a howling wasteland called Oblivion's End, the palace straddles a yawning chasm whose sheer slopes hold hundreds of tombs and burial sites, creating a tiered necropolis below the palace. Within the palace, Orcus's voice booms throughout the lair. His utterance can cause any creature he chooses to be subjected to the power word kill spell. The undead that roam his lair obey his telepathic commands, which can reach anywhere within. The entire region of Oblivion's End is constantly warped by Orcus's presence. Dead beasts periodically animate as undead mockeries of their former selves. The air is filled with the stench of rotting flesh, and buzzing flies are thick within the region, even when there is no carrion to be found. Because of the thin air, all living creatures in the region are at risk of becoming fatigued and even dying from sheer exhaustion. Very little plant life exists on Thanatos. Mortals wishing to find sustenance must rely upon the indigenous mosses, molds, and fungi, and even those grow only in relatively temperate locales like Lacrimosa or Orcus Gate.
Promise your soul to Orcus. Eat of his flesh and drink of his blood, and through him you will gain life everlasting. Mercy is a luxury that none are worthy of. Suffering and torment are the fuel that will empower Orcus's ascent. The worshippers of Orcus will overwhelm the world in a tide of undeath, and even the gods will perish.
When it comes to direct enemies, Orcus covets Grozit and Demogorgon's realms above all others, and commands a host of undead and demons that ravage entire layers of the abyss at his whim. Against Grozit, Orcus's tactics are fairly direct. He constantly sends wave after wave of his limitless undead armies against Grozit's 3 abyssal layers, continuing these battles eternally, since Orcus can replace fallen undead soldiers as quickly as they are destroyed by Grozit's defenders. This relentless assault is inexorably penetrating deeper and deeper into Grozit's territory, but at nowhere near the pace that Orcus wishes. He realizes that, of the two, Demogorgon is a more powerful foe, and as a result, Orcus's actions against the Prince of Demons are more subtle. He sends small bands of Nabasu, vampires, and liches into Gaping Maw and other places Demogorgon holds sway, to undertake missions of precisely calibrated assassination and sabotage. Yet while Orcus himself might not be as powerful as Demogorgon, and his realm might be dwarfed by the size of Grozit's holdings, Orcus's cult on the material plane is in truth his greatest resource. Worshippers of Orcus are heretics and blasphemers who see the gods of the multiverse as cruel, unjust creatures. They resent that mortals must suffer and die at the whims of these entities. In Orcus, they see the promise of release from pain without the demand of obedience. In the state of undeath that Orcus offers, they will be free from hunger, fear, and worry. People who have lost a loved one to a tragic death are especially susceptible to his appeal. A father stricken with grief after the death of his child might seek Orcus's intervention in returning his child to the world after the gods cruelly snatched her away. All who would become cultists of Orcus must be willing to become undead. Those who commit to the cause are admitted to the cult. Those who have second thoughts and attempt to decline are destroyed, their souls condemned to the outer planes while their bodies are animated as skeletons and zombies. In particular, orcs, half-orcs, ogres, and giants revere Orcus, as do a large number of corrupt and despicable humans. His temples are usually hidden, and his worshippers form secret societies that commit atrocities and wage wars in his name. He demands living sacrifice from his cultists, and blood and skulls are important parts of the imagery used in his worship. Intelligent undead rarely serve him willingly, although many vampires, liches, and other undead creatures are forced into his service by dark pacts or compelling magic. The cult of Orcus seeks to follow in its patron's blasphemous footsteps, crawling through the ranks of demonkind to become demon lords in their own right. Demonic members cherish their mortal memories and consider their entire existence part of an ongoing continuum. Orcus urges his mortal followers to wreak great subterfuge and destruction upon the material plane. Leaders in his order call themselves Skull Lords and often command numerous undead creatures and servitor demons, as well as an egalitarian clutch of cultists from all walks of society. When a Skull Lord achieves sufficient influence upon their homeworld, such as by taking control of a savage humanoid tribe or maneuvering himself into a city's political inner circle, Orcus himself sends his servant an omen designed to woo the champion to Thanatos. When they arrive in Thanatos, Skull Lords are expected to wrest control of a wandering undead horde from the plains of hunger and lead that force on an invasion of a material plane world or the abyssal enclave of one of Orcus's foes. Those who succeed take the title Skull King, returning to their world with the dark blessings of Orcus himself. Those who fail are reanimated as liches in the haunted city of Golman Thur and remain upon Thanatos forevermore. When Skull Kings die, their souls return to Thanatos not as larvae, manes, or rudderkin, but rather as more powerful, true Tanari, such as Vrox or even Nalfeshnes. Perhaps one of the most powerful and infamous servitors of Orcus is Doresain, the king of ghouls. It is said that Doresain was once a mortal elf and a worshipper of Orcus. In order to honor his deity, he feasted on the flesh of his fellow elves. Impressed by the raw and savage act, Orcus turned Doresain into the very first ghoul. Some sages note that Doresain, in some form, founded a kingdom and became the great ruler over the ghouls in the Underdark of Earth. Eventually, Doresain became a direct servitor to Orcus in the Abyss. There he was imbued with a shard of Orcus's divinity and became known as the Ghoul King and Exarch of Orcus. Here, he would create ghouls from the servants of Orcus. Eventually, the King of Ghouls even took command of an entire layer of the Abyss, called the White Kingdom. Though it is exceptionally rare, mighty adventurers might rise to the prominence and occasion of attempting to slay the Prince of Undeath. In battle, he is capable of fighting with a berserker-like frenzy as he seeks to utterly annihilate his foes. Orcus relies heavily on his wand in combat, much preferring to engage foes in melee. Attacks with his free claw, gore, and poison tail are almost afterthoughts. If faced with numerous powerful foes, Orcus fights more carefully. He summons undead and Tanari to engage foes in melee while he provides support with Finger of Death, Wail of the Banshee, and his other spell-like abilities. Perhaps even more impressively, anyone that even dares to merely enter within Orcus's lair is immediately subjected to mental onslaught that can leave them with a form of madness. These poor souls are struck with intense feelings of self-loathing and hopelessness, compelled to inflict cruelty upon others, or left with the urge to spread undeath throughout existence. Legends say that the skull atop the wand of Orcus once belonged to a god of virtue and chivalry, who dared challenge Orcus in battle. Other legends identify it as the skull of a human hero, but if that is true, it has been magically enlarged to its current size. In any event, the powerful good that once resided in the skull has been warped and perverted into the most monstrous evil.
I will be the last creature when I am done. The cosmos will then be perfect, free of the braying abominations that are all living things.
This has been D&D Legends and Lore. Thanks so much for listening or watching on your platform of choice. If you enjoyed this episode, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Also, consider leaving us a review, especially on Apple Podcasts. It really helps others find the show. If you'd like to support us more directly, check out our Patreon or channel memberships on YouTube. There you'll also find ad-free early episodes as well as live play and third-party D&D content. Links, as always, are in the description. Lastly, we wanted to give a big thank you to our video editor Sean, aka The Unhumble Bard. You can check him out over on his YouTube channel, The Unhumble Bard. With that, thank you for listening, and happy adventuring.